to Lady Fifi's chest of stories, a bit of lore, myths and legends of gods and heroes. So how was your week? Interesting? I've heard that mothers have been Googling new recipes and children have been doing their schooling on the internet. I, of course, know absolutely nothing about the internet and surfing and Googling. You see, I was born back then, about 1,000 years ago. No, 2,000, maybe 5,000, 10,000 maybe, I don't know, I've lost count. So there was no internet at that time. But I do know lots of legends and myths of ancient civilizations from back then. And I've been smart enough to learn how to upload them on YouTube so I can bring them to you. Now I've kept the language in the stories very simple so that everybody can understand them. People who are hearing them for the first time get to know a little bit about it. And even your children, it's a great way to expose them to these myths and legends. For those watching for the first time, let me tell you, I have in this chest a treasure of stories, of gods and heroes, of kings and queens, of giants and monsters and other magical creatures. But first, let me introduce you to my friend, this chest. Draago. Draago is a very sly dragon, and he keeps all the stories hidden within the fire that rages inside him. Only I know how to get the stories out of his fire. Oh, I'm going to open you now. Whoa, easy boy, easy. It's just Lady Fifi. Now, where is the story of Hercules? Ah, here it is. Now, the story of Hercules. Now, the religions of ancient Greece are no more, but the gods and goddesses still hold a place and will indeed continue to do so in the departments of theology and literature. They will never fade into oblivion because they are so closely connected to some of the finest productions of art, poetry, music, and literature. Do hit the subscribe and like button if you're enjoying the stories. And let's start with the story of Hercules. Hercules was famous for his incredible strength, courage, and intelligence. He was the greatest of the mythological Greek heroes and the strongest man in the world. Not man, he was not a man, he was a demigod. That's half man, half god, because his father, Zeus, was the king of the gods and his mother was Alcmene. She was a beautiful human princess. Now, all the Greek gods could have many wives. So, though Zeus was married to Hera, and he loved her, he loved her. But when he saw the beautiful Alcmene, he fell in love with her. He married her, and then Hercules was born. Zeus loved his son, but Hera, his wife, was so jealous of Hercules, she kept thinking of ways of killing him. So one night, she commanded, who's here? Why is the tent shaking? Oh, Ali's here for her cheese. Come. Here. So one night, Hera commanded 2 snakes to go and bite Hercules. Hercules was fast asleep in his crib, and the 2 snakes slid up the crib, one hissing away happily like Kaa the snake and the other rattling away. It was a rattlesnake, and they had this rattle in their tail which starts rattling when they're excited. They both were very excited and happy that they were going to bite Hercules. So they slid up into the crib. But Hercules was a smart bloke. He was fast asleep, but he heard the hissing and he heard the rattling. He first opened one eye, then another. And then in a flash, he caught both the snakes and crushed them in his hands. I told you, he was incredibly strong, even as a baby. He threw both the snakes out of the crib and went back to sleep. But now his mother, Alcmene, was really scared.
Now you're scaring me, Ollie.
His mother was really scared because Hera was the queen goddess and she would try and kill him another time. So she went to Zeus and she said, I'm terrified for my life and that of Hercules. Please do something. So Zeus sent them to Earth in a far and remote village where they could hide and live peacefully away from Hera. Hercules went to school, studied hard, played lots of sports because he was so strong. He milked cows, took the cattle for grazing, helped his mother, and slowly he grew up into a fine, handsome lad. But Hera, who had always been searching for Hercules, found him. And she cast an evil spell on him and tricked Hercules into killing all his loved ones. When Hercules came out of the spell, he was devastated at what he had done. He cried and cried and cried and was miserable. Then he went to the oracle of Delphi and asked what he should do to atone. that is what he should do to show that he's really sorry for what he has done. She told him that he should go to King Eurystheus and do whatever tasks are asked of him. If he did this, he would be forgiven and he would not feel guilty. Now King Eury was a friend of Hera, and Hera told him to give Hercules very difficult and life-threatening tasks so that Hercules would get killed. So King Eurystheus gave Hercules what are called the 12 Labours of Hercules. Now they're all full of fun, danger and adventure. I'll tell you one today. And it is called Slay LERNEAN HYDRA. Now in the kingdom of King Eury, there was a serpent. But Hera and King Eury, sly as foxes as they were, they knew that Hercules didn't stand a chance against Hydra. The LERNEAN HYDRA was a big serpent, a really monstrous snake with 9 heads, and the one in the center was immortal. Immortal means you could never kill it.
He lived in a smelly, stinky marsh.
And anybody who approached the monster's den, which was a huge cave in the middle of the swamp, was instantly killed by his smelly, poisonous breath. He was a stinky poo. But Hercules was smart. He wore a mask and went, very much like the masks that we are wearing these days to protect ourselves from the coronavirus. Then he shot burning, flaming arrows inside the cave. Now this disturbed Hydra and even angered him. And he was even curious. How did anybody get so close? Why were they not killed by my poisonous, stinky breath? And he smelled his breath. Oh, it was poisonous enough. Then what? He was curious. Now you know the saying, curiosity killed the cat, in this case, the serpent. So he got out of the cave to see who it was, and then he saw Hercules standing there. Little Hercules, compared to this giant, monstrous serpent. Hydra the serpent lurched at Hercules, but Hercules, who had a fearless heart and a double-edged sword called the Khanda or the Tega, attacked the monster, chopping off his heads one by one. But to his utter surprise, every time he chopped one head off, 2 more sprang forth in its place. Hercules kept chopping the heads and Hydra kept growing more heads. Hydra was not going to be easily overcome, and he wrapped one of his coils around the foot of Hercules so the hero couldn't escape. And to make matters worse, Hydra had a friend of his in the swamp, a huge crab who climbed out of the swamp and started biting Hercules' foot. This was getting very, very difficult for Hercules. So he called out to his nephew, Iolaus, and he said, "Come, help me, Iolaus." Iolaus came with a burning mashal, that's a burning, flaming torch. Now every time Hercules chopped off one of the heads, Iolaus, he would put that burning flame onto that wound so no more heads could grow. Finally, Hercules had the better of the monster. After chopping off the 8 heads, he went for the final 9th immortal head and chopped it off. Then he quickly dug a deep hole into the ground and buried that head. And then for good measure, he put a huge rock on top of it. Now to make sure that the monster never ever grows another head, he slit open the creature. Hercules dipped his sword and also all his arrows in this poisonous venom of the creature. These arrows would be used years later in the Trojan War to defeat Troy. Paris, the prince of Troy, who abducted Helen the queen, the face that launched 1,000 ships, was killed by one of these arrows. But that story another day. This was the second labor of Hercules, and after completing all the 12 labors, Hercules became the greatest and the strongest of all the Greek heroes. Now for the Greek recipe. Alright, so here is everything that we have. This is the hung curd, cucumber, salt, garlic, some olives, some chopped dill. I didn't tell you about the olives, but that you can add.
So now what do? First we take the curd. See how nice and thick it is because it has been hung. Yeah. Then we take the cucumber, put it in it. Then we take some salt, some garlic, and then we just mix it all up. Now to this I'm going to add some olives and some chopped dill and eat it with crudités and pita bread. The rest I'm going to put away in the fridge and tomorrow put it on some bread, top it with veggies and eat it as a sandwich.
This is tzatziki or Tzatziki, as they say in Greek. Fabulous, delicious, so very good. Now let's see what the cards predict for the next episode.
So now I shuffle, and then I lay out the tarot cards.
The card says the story of Prometheus the next time. Prometheus made man and then gave him the fire. Alright, ta-ta now from Lady Fifi. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. I'll see you next Sunday.